Oh, welcome to the Historical Records section of the Global Archives. Over the last 50, I'm going to get over on the other side. Over the last 50 years, we've had innovation after innovation, and what the archives is doing is we've been keeping documents here that go back to 1952. And we start here looking first, we looked at the early years of the Ecumenical Institute and the Institute of Cultural Affairs, and during that time worked with local churches for a while, began a project on the west side of Chicago, Fifth City, and we've got all the archives for all of these, which are feeding into the collections that are now going on. Then over the next few years, spent a lot of time setting up projects in each of the 24 time zones throughout the world, and shifted into acting as the Institute of Cultural Affairs as we spent more and more time going around the world, involving people in projects. And throughout this time, out of the work that went on in the projects around the world, we did just a minute, we gotta move here. We started doing the Town Meeting 76 program was a program of the bicentennial. And during that time, we did 5,000 town meetings around the world, and town meetings were done in many other countries too. And then we worked into the International Exposition of Rural Development and began replicating projects. And then in the 90s, we took the methods we'd been using for years and years and years and gave them a name, the Technology of Participation, and people around this country first began using those methods, teaching courses, training people, and now there's a Top Trainers Association, and they're active way outside the United States also. And then one of the things that we're really excited about is we're also now doing living archives and encouraging all the programs that are going on to keep the documentation that will be valuable for the future, as well as documenting what's going on in the present. And here we had Accelerate 77, and which was working in all the 77 communities throughout Chicago, with interns gathering information on all the environmental projects they were working on. And now in the 2010s, the ICA Green Rise is the building that we're here in now. It's been named a historical building in Chicago, and we're part of a Chicago retrofit program. And tomorrow are launching nearly 500 solar panels. The turning on, I guess is what you call it, of 500 solar panels. So throughout this whole span of time, records, files, pictures, everything that isn't a document is called an artifact. And you'll be able to hear, we have some stuff on outrageous accomplishments of the historical records team, but you'll be able to find that online. And then I want to just show you what the archives began working actually a long time ago, and many of our volunteers have been coming here for years and years, and I want to introduce you to some of them that are around the room. I want to introduce Marge first, because Marge Philbrook has been sort of the anchor of the archive since when, Marge?
Forever.
Forever. But you go way back. Yeah, and she was the one that really instigated getting all of these documents in a position to be accessible to people. She got that started. And these 30 cabinets on here represent pretty much the 19,000 documents. And each one of those, for them to get from here to you, there has to be a piece of paper that's scanned, that's put into a FileMaker Pro, that then can be linked to you. And we now at least know where all the documents are, and you'll have access to that later today. But it's a process. It is very work intensive. When we did the 5,000 town meetings, we had about 15 people working here for a week to get all those into file folders. So it sometimes seems like magic, but it really is a lot of work. And then we have Paul Noah. And, well, everybody introduced, these two are on the archives team, the historic team. And then
Roxana Harper from Seattle, Washington. Dorothea Jewell from Macomb, Illinois.
Jean Long from the 7th floor.
Gordon Harper, Seattle, Washington.
And Jim Weigel is here too. And I'm Barrett Griffith, and I've been working here since probably about 2007, 8, 9 in there. And there are just a myriad of other volunteers. And through all this, Marge, what do you know, Marge, 86, has been steadfast. And a couple of years ago, Jean Long moved here from Denver to work. And those are the people that are here. And then other people come and volunteer every once in a while. Things took a big, huge shift in around 2012, I think it was. I want to show you this chart. But up until 2012, we were really just climbing a mountain of data. 177 file cabinets, 900 drawers. I mean, it's just huge. And we were just still working on putting those in file folders and keeping track of them. Then in the spring of 2012, Jack Gillis and Steve Harrington showed up and sort of put forward the idea of beginning to do collections. And that was just so overwhelming, it was hard to even think about how you go about putting everything from a particular area into a collection. So then came the big idea, and invented the iceberg tips. Iceberg tips. And what the idea was is we'd come up with 10 assets, which are documents or artifacts that represent a collection, and then write the purpose of the collection and that kind of thing. And all that we've done so far is now up online. And they're in various stages of development, and that's why we need everybody to help with this. And we've got also well, I can't remember here. Anyway, but this we are now just continuing to do the documentation. Then in about, I think it was, where's my sheet here? And then in the fall of 2012, we did a prototype of a collection. And that's when we focused in on the town meeting collection and, you know, put all what I said before, put all the documents in file folders, and then took a whole representative bunch of those, and you can get to those, see what those are online. But those few that are online represent a lot more documents, many, many more documents. Then in that winter, we have a great tech team, and the tech team is Tim Wagner, Steve Harrington, and who's it? Wendell, yes.
And Paul. And Jim.
Yeah. And Jim. And began to get us sort of hollering and screaming at first into the digital universe, because the technology was so new to most of us. And we have bit by bit learned how to do it. And the collections got built, and then in the spring of 2013, we tested the collection and started to replicate the collections. And now that in the 13, then we had 4 collection prototypes, and now we're working on collections as we can get to them. And one of the exciting things is having this GARA now, where for the first time have branched out to create teams that can work on these collections off-site and can work on all sorts of research. It broadens the access to the material and engages a lot more people. So what we've done as the historical records team in terms of processing and managing the files, Wendell Rafe here has just worked a miracle in the last few days. But up till now, we've had accessible to you the Golden Pathways. I mentioned that in that little crazy front end piece, but several years ago, a few people decided to go through what they felt at that time were the significant documents. And from the very beginning, and particularly starting in 2007, people were saying, why is it that digitization is so important to the ICA? And before that, Marge Philbrook and several other people worked down in the basement that you saw a glimpse of to put together the significant documents on a CD that was available to everybody, and that's now online on the Wedgeblade. But that has roughly 2,000 documents on it that you can get to. Then a few years later, Gordon Harper, Tim Wagner, and Len Hockley, I don't know who else was in on that, created the repository that has another whole huge number of documents and stories, and that's available to see too. And then you already have all the links. I think you already have links to all this, don't they?
Yes.
I think so, yeah. And then the collections, you can get to all the collections in various stages of development. And that work will just continue. You can always continue to add to collections. Then this week, we got what we are calling Frank's Drive. One of our team members, I didn't mention the ones that aren't on site here today, but Frank Knutson and Sally Fenton have really played a huge role in all of this. And Frank has spent hours and hours and hours, and the drive is so big that it has to be an adjunct to the server that's here. But on there, and this very soon will be available to all of you too. And this has photos, videos, songs, slideshows, and a whole bunch of stuff that we haven't even discovered yet. So we're excited that all of this is available. And then as of today, Wendell worked yesterday, and we now have an author title list of all 19,800 documents that you can look at as you're looking at your own collections or as you see things that are needed for the research work that you're doing. And of those, there are going to be, you also get a link to the documents that already have links, and those are 1,200. So as you look at either your own collections or what's going on with people that you're working with and need documentation, then you'll be able to talk with us and we'll be able to get those. And then also going out is how you can accession online. And one of the things that we're also going to do is support off-site archives. We have a lot of materials that if you're interested in archiving your own collections, or and particularly the ICA offices around the world, we want to be able to help you with what we've learned about doing this kind of documentation, have a lot of information we can send to you that we think will help. And so we're excited about that, to have you on board, and we'll keep in touch. So now we're going to have, are we going to video the questions? We're now, yeah. We're going to, I wanted now to spend time asking questions if this group has any questions, and then you will be able to contact us with any questions that you have, and then we will answer those as best we can. So the crew here, any questions that you have?
Well, as a former person who made up all the jargon for the ICA-EI, one of the things that I have to keep reminding myself is collections means program arenas, the academy, the new religious mode. So when we say collections, we mean a program arena that will be available to you.
Any other comments and questions that you have about the process or how this works? How you've used the archives and the documents?
This is Jim Weigel. I have a question. For example, the Golden Pathways, all that material is editable online. That is to say, I can go in and download it, change whatever I want, and do whatever I want with it. So what are we doing for any sort of security, or just to make sure that these documents with links, when somebody goes on, can they add different documents? What about security and openness? How's that being handled?
Well, the Golden Pathways I don't think is editable. You can go in and you can look at a document and you can print it out. You can't edit on those unless they happen to be a document that is online. I think all the documents that go out are in PDF form, so they aren't editable.
The Golden Pathways was designed to be editable, because if you wanted to take a speech and use certain paragraphs out of it and use it for yourself, you could take those and put them in your document and copy them. Because the Golden Pathways was designed with the image that there were no secrets in the Institute.
Yeah. But you can't edit online, I don't think.
They're available for people to use as they need it.
Marge,
Can't
wait a,
change the originals.
You can't change the original
but you can
documents, no.
change, you can copy it onto your computer and change whatever you want.
Mhm. Anyone else, comments or questions on what goes on in this place? We'll be encouraging you as we move through the week and figure out how to do this, that one of the things we do need is volunteers here, simply to do some of the work of making documents accessible. That doesn't kind of happen by magic. There's a process for it, and once we get going, we can go fairly quickly. But so we'll be thinking about how we set up maybe a schedule throughout the year so people can come and assist in accessing and making things accessible to people. And this how to accession online, I maybe should say a little bit more about that. You will be able to, from your home or your office or wherever you are, to look at what you got in your collection or a document that you have or a box of material and enter that into a form online. What accessioning is simply what the piece of material is or artifact and where it is. It isn't the specific files, but it's so that we know where things exist, so that then if somebody wants that, we haven't worked out all the processes for that, but for instance, if Roxana has a box of files and she wants us to know that she's got those files, then you can fill out this form. It'll come to us, and we will say where it is, so that if somebody else then wants a document on human development projects, and we know she's got those, then we can say, well, you could talk to Roxana if it's a document we don't have here. So it really opens up a huge universe for us knowing where materials are, what actually exists around the world. And so this could actually, with a little help, could really move ahead very quickly. Any other comments, questions? Well, for those of you who are watching this, if you have questions about how the archives work, what you can do to help, what we need to do, what you want us to do to help you with your collections, let us know. And material will go out later today that will have contact information on that and several pieces that will be helpful for you, so you know what we already have. So, welcome and keep hunting.
And thank you.
You're welcome.